Hey, 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 welcome to the Godfather Minute. My name is Alex Robinson.
And my name's Andy Robinson.
And together, cumulatively, we make up the Godfather Minute Brothers. And we're here to talk about minute 128 of the classic film, The Godfather.
That's it, Alex. E minuto.
Numero.
100.
Oh, no. Anytime you're breaking it down that low. 128. 28.
That's it.
128.
You got it.
All right.
You're getting better.
Sicily bound.
Yeah. Now when you go to Palermo, you can successfully be able to order 128
minutes.
I was going to say something like beers. I was thinking something very Sicilian.
Like
vendettas.
I can buy a house for 128
oh, that's right.
Italian
the cheap
dollars.
Houses, yeah. They use the euro, I think.
Do they?
Yeah.
So in minute 128, here's what's happening. Don commences the meeting of the five families. He welcomes the vile gangsters who control all the crime in the Big Apple, plus murderers and killers from California, Kansas, and all the other territories in the country. Mm-hmm. After acknowledging that he and Barzini both lost sons in the war, Don wonders how things got that far.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's right.
It's crazy.
Well, it was Don Tatalia that lost a son.
No, well, I just realized it was Barzini all along.
Wow! That was a setup. You set me up. You were hoping I was paying attention. That was great. That could be a fun thing. How to trick people into getting you to say classic Godfather lines in your everyday life. I mean, with me, it's easy. I'm a sucker because I want to go there.
Yeah.
But how could you? You and I just this weekend were talking to someone about a contract.
Uh-huh.
And I think you said either my brains or my foot will be on the contract. I can't remember the context.
Yeah, either your brains or my foot will be.
Yeah,
I don't remember what the deal was.
Foot.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's fun. Well, to our listeners, if you can ever trick anyone, bait anyone into getting you to quote a line from The Godfather, even better if it's a deeper cut.
Yeah.
Kudos to you, and let us know on Fredo Corleone's Mickey Mouse Nightclub. I know a few months ago someone posted something about their boss had said something maybe in an email, and it set them up to respond a la Godfather.
And did they?
They did, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't remember what it was.
You're a professional person. Like, you have a real job and everything.
Well, I'm an olive oil importer, if that's what you're asking.
I'm a retired pensioner, retired investor. Do you ever, if you ever are say you're at your job and someone says a line that makes you think of a Godfather line, do you then say it, or do you?
Sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Got it.
Like recently someone said, oh no, that was Mrs. Rivera who said that. I said, no, I thought it was Barzini all along.
Oh, wow. What do they say?
To do with,
so they go, what?
And I just go, never mind. I go, you had to be there.
So this is the scene where we get to meet all the gangsters. At least get to see little kind of appearances of all of them. Mm-hmm. They don't all speak. In a cool, it's a cool shot that just goes down the table. Mm-hmm. And I like that it alternates between the backs of gangsters and you know what I mean? Like sometimes the screen's just black because you're just seeing it panned by someone's back. So
yeah, the camera work is great. Mm-hmm. It's going along the table.
Yeah.
And in GF2, I think they used that same type of shot.
Oh, they did when they're at the with the telephone.
Mm-hmm. Oh, before I forget, to answer your question from last minute, Hyman Roth is not at this meeting. He is not at this meeting.
According to the novel.
According to the novel.
But he probably didn't even exist in the novel.
Yeah, he's not referenced in the novel yet.
So that was before he was. Mm-hmm. So I think they would have retconned him into the meeting.
Yeah, probably.
Why wouldn't he be there? He made a lot of money with his father.
Yeah. And he always made money for his partners. And
Say
those
it
are
after me. He always made money for his partners. We see oranges on the table, and which is, of course, a lot of people think it is a symbol of death in the Godfather universe.
Yeah.
I read something about it, and they said that that was never a conscious thing on their part. Just oranges were a bright fruit, and they stood out in the kind of somber tones of the Godfather film in general. So, so it's something they just put in for us.
So is it the fans who came up with that myth?
I guess people reading it too much into other things, Or you could say that, I mean, I don't think always that the artist is the person who knows what's going on with a piece of art. You know what I mean? Consciously understand.
Yeah.
Like they might put stuff in it and then, like not even realize, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that's, this thing I did that, I wasn't even consciously doing.
You don't think all that stuff interpreted later is just coincidence?
Some of it could be. I mean, it could be like the Dark Side of the Moon, Wizard of Oz type thing.
Oh, that was no coincidence.
But I also think that I don't think necessarily that it's because an artist didn't consciously put it in there does not mean that it's not in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that it doesn't have some significance,
Right?
as a part of the art.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I like I guess this is the first time we see Tatalia, unless he's at the wedding. But if he's at the wedding, they don't showcase him at all.
No.
But I like the first time you see him, he's like combing his like greasy hair. So it really goes great with the image of him as a pimp and so on.
As a pimp of pimps.
It's true.
That might be the name of this
stable of
episode.
foxy pimps.
Yeah.
I like when the Don is doing his speech and Tom puts the glass of water down, and the Don like looks at him, and I can't tell what he's thinking in that bit.
There is something about that in the book. Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely something about that in the book. I'll bring it up later. If I can track it down. Let's see. Here, let me just read it now since we're there. Don Corleone paused and motioned to Hagen for a cold drink, which Hagen swiftly furnished him. Don Corleone wet his mouth. I'm willing to make and then he just goes on.
Oh,
so that's it in the book.
Yeah. But he definitely gives him a weird look in the, he's like, Tom, I told you, wait till the end to bring out the water. Why you bring out the water now for?
Yeah, he's probably more frustrated at being so there long. And all of just the dynamic in the room and everything.
So he's just short-tempered.
Yeah.
Here's something I learned. In the original shooting script had a lot of these scenes in different orders. In the original shooting script, at this point in the story, Apollonia is not dead.
Yeah, the book is also mixed up like that.
Yeah.
I would say mixed up out of order.
Yeah, because I guess I guess the Don at some point explains like, oh, you never know if some assassin's already been planned. It might be too late to. They say something about how if there's an assassination might already be in the works that they can't, that it's too late to recall. So, but so is that an improvement or is it a? What do you think? Do you think it's stronger the other way? Because then it almost makes the death even more tragic. The fact that it's like a mistake that it happens after he's already brokered a deal for Michael to come home.
Yeah, I think it's stronger having it as it is in the movie. Because then the viewer would be wondering, well, who broke the peace?
Right,
It just wouldn't, it doesn't really make sense.
It's a lot cleaner.
This is a resolution of all the past grievances. And it's, in a sense, the beginning of maybe the final act.
Yeah.
About that.
Although I guess they could have included a scene where someone's like, oh, I'm going off to kill, I know where Michael Corleone is. Oh, no, don't you know that thing is, thing is done. And someone being like, oh, I didn't get a chance to tell Fabrizio.
Oh, yeah. But then that would have to be resolved.
Yeah, it is much simpler this way and dramatic to have it be like after the death. But
because it does make the meeting more. The meeting has more of an impact because Apollonia just died.
Right.
It's just yet another death that has led these men to this room to broker the peace.
We see Strachey, who we see mentioned by name. He's the one from Staten Island who's like, the bosses of Staten Island. And he's the one who gets shot in the elevator later on. This is the first time I learned, and maybe you'll have some information about this in the book, but I think only in the book, only two of the mob, Michael only kills two of the mob bosses. Like a couple of the mob bosses side with Michael in the war, like Cuneo and someone else survived.
After this meeting?
Like at the end of the book.
Oh, okay.
Like you find out that Cuneo like signed up was on Michael's side.
Oh, interesting. I haven't gotten there. Yeah. So interesting.
Keep your ears open for that.
Yeah. If that is true, if that's the case, I think it's much more powerful to have it slaughter them all
than to have it be like, well, 2 out of the 5 were killed.
Yeah. Although it could show that if you sided with Don Corleone, the Corleone family, you would live.
The movie definitely seems Michael is more powerful, that he did this totally on his own as opposed to having to broker with other families and work out a deal.
Yeah,
this
compromise.
Way. So Strachey.
Yeah.
From Staten Island.
Yeah, well, I've got a little bit about Strachey in the book.
Well, I think
I think Don Corleone pronounces like Stragi. I think he says Stragi.
Stragi.
I think that's what he says.
Is that how you say it in?
I'm not sure. I assumed it was Strachey because that's what Michael says.
Yeah, he does it with an American accent.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much all. I know you have a lot about the book, so I will turn the floor over to you. That's all I have. Anything film specific, but
Puzo writes a lot about these characters and their background.
Right.
Pretty much gives a bio of each one, including ones you don't see in the movie and ones that are not introduced by Don Corleone. So I'm going to need you to pay attention because I'm going to be asking you. I'm going to be pausing and asking questions, not a la quiz, but just to get your
make sure I'm still paying attention.
Yeah. All right. Puzo writes, the arrival time had been staggered for between 9:30 to 10. So Don Corleone was the first to arrive, like we learned last week, because he's very punctual.
Yeah, to get there an hour early to help set up.
After Don Corleone, who arrives? Carlo Tramonti,
Carlo Tramonti! Like introducing them all one by one. Come on down!
Carlo Tramonti made the southern part of the United States his territory. He was an impressively handsome middle-aged man, tall for a Sicilian, with a very deep sunburn, exquisitely tailored and barbered.
So he's from the South.
He's from the South. Yeah. I can't believe I'm here in New York City. Well, they're all old school Sicilians. So.
Yeah.
The Tremonti family earned its livelihood from gambling. It's so funny as you read all these bios. They all have a hand in gambling in their respective territories.
Not the Rosado brothers.
No. They save. You know where they save the gambling for.
Yeah.
It was Tremonti who opened ties with Cuba and the Batista regime, and eventually poured money into the pleasure resorts.
That should be Hyman Roth. That makes sense that should be Hyman Roth. Right. He's at the southern United States. He lives in Miami.
Yeah, you're right.
That's Hyman Roth traveling under an assumed name. That's in our head canon. That's the story. They're cut to him and it would be Lee Strasberg with like a big fake mustache on it.
Big sunburn, a red sunburn. Says, I am Don Tremonti. I make my livelihood from gambling.
Did you hear? The sun is bad for your skin.
You're right. In GF2, they probably substituted him. So he is there. He is at the meeting in a sense.
In spirit.
Tremonti had poured money into the pleasure resorts of Havana gambling houses, whole houses, to lure gamblers from the American mainland. Like a pleasure houses.
It's not like those rub joints they have back home.
No. Let's see. When he came to the conference room, followed by his aide, an equally sunburned consigliere, Tremonti.
That would be Johnny Ola.
Yeah, exactly. Tremonti, his Sicilian messenger boy. Yeah. Right? Tremonti embraced Don Corleone, made a face of sympathy to show he sorrowed for the dead son.
I like that Hyman Roth has a Sicilian consigliere because it's a nice reverse of... Because the Don is Sicilian and has a different nationality. Like they're each cross multicultural.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, there is one head of the family we're going to learn about who is Sicilian and he has mostly Jewish people working for him.
Okay.
But he's Sicilian.
Yeah.
So that's the true Bizarro universe.
Of the Hyman Roth.
Of the Hyman
yeah,
Roth,
it would be different if it was an Irish mob. If it was a German Irish mob with a Sicilian consigliere, then that would work.
That would be a great alternate world, right? Back in
like the Irishman.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, the Irishman. Yeah. Exactly. Let's see. The other Dons were arriving. They all knew each other. They had met over the years, either socially or when in the pursuit of their businesses. They had always showed each other professional courtesies, and in their younger, leaner days, had done each other little services.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess
sense.
Puzo means by that they had personally done services for each other when they were more physically in the game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I imagine so.
Right.
And also with their organizations.
Mm-hmm. So the next Don was the Detroit Don.
The Detroit Don, the criminal car maker.
Yeah, that's right. The Prince of Pontiacs.
The Chevrolet charlatan. Yeah. Here he is.
This Don was outraged that Apollonia was blown up in one of his cars.
Oh.
Or maybe he has a whole line of cars where the bombs are built into them. They can be activated.
Pre-bombed.
They can be activated by, if you pay him enough, he will activate the bomb of another crime family's car.
Oh, wow. Why would you buy a car from that?
You don't know that it's in there.
until you buy one, and then they're like, oh, hey, by the way, there's a bomb in the car. Anytime you want to let me know, I'll blow it up for you.
Well, no, you can't let the person who bought it know. You have to let the other families know.
So, but it has his brand on it that is known, that all the families know are explosive cars.
So say, oh no, this model for you, I took the bomb out.
Well, it'd be different if he made them, they looked like non-brand, like they were off-brand cars. And
That's great. That's why Michael was shouting, no. He just saw the insignia on the car. He didn't even. That's great. So this is Joseph Zalucci from Detroit.
Zaza.
Yeah, Zalucci. He owned one of the horse racing tracks in the Detroit area. They also owned, of course, a good part of the gambling. Zalucci, like Don Corleone, was sophisticated. Detroit had the lowest incidence of physical violence of any of the cities controlled by the families. There had been only 2 executions in the last 3 years in that city. He disapproved of traffic in the drugs. Interesting.
Of course, the guy from Detroit wouldn't like traffic.
That's great. Zalucci had a booming American voice with only the slightest trace of an accent. He was conservatively dressed, very businessman, and with a hearty goodwill to match. He said to Don Corleone, "Only your voice could have brought me here." Don Corleone bowed his head in thanks. He could count on Zalucci for support. So this is the Don who, in the next couple minutes, says, "The people come. My people come to me and want to sell drugs, and I disapprove." And he slams his hand. I don't want it in the neighborhoods near school. So that's Don Zalucci from Detroit.
Okay. Isn't there one of the Dons who's just noteworthy specifically for liking children? I thought he was the one who
No,
says...
that's Stracci.
Oh, that's Stracci.
Yeah.
Who says, not near the school.
Yeah, no, Don Zalucci likes cars.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and Stracci likes kids.
But also, Don Zalucci doesn't want it near the schools.
Yeah, I think it's just...
Because he's worried to look bad on the cars.
I don't want these drug people competing with my car sales. He's okay with drugs. He just doesn't want the drugs done in the car.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, watch the upholstery. Let's see. The next 2 Dons to arrive were from the West Coast.
Molinari's?
He's one of them.
Is it really? Awesome.
Yeah. Motoring from there in the same car since they worked together closely in any case. So it's funny. It's the 40s, so they drove in. This is interesting. They were Frank Falcone and Anthony Molinari. Both were younger than any of the other Dons, in their early 40s.
Well, you think they motored all the way from California?
That's what it said. Oh, it said they motored from there. Yeah. They're from the West Coast, and they motored from there.
Sheesh.
Since they worked closely together. Maybe they were doing business along the way.
I guess so.
Hell, it wasn't one of Don Zalucci's cars.
Because that seems like it would require like several days notice and stuff like that.
Hey, you're
to
the Don.
clear this. But like they don't have to come to this meeting. Like he makes it sound like they just came as a courtesy to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, as far away as California and all the other
That's true,
territories.
yeah. I guess when Don Corleone asks.
Only his voice could bring them
Yeah,
there.
that's it. Yeah. So says Salucci. So this is interesting. The Falcone and Molinari, they were dressed a little more informally than the others.
They're all wearing like Bermuda shorts.
Yeah,
and,
that's how I picture it.
Hoodies.
Although you'd think the guy from Florida would be dressed all tropical. I guess
Yeah.
West Coast is more informal.
Well, he's probably the guy from Miami. He's probably wearing like a white suit.
Yes.
So like a
Yeah.
he's dressed
Like Don
nicely,
Johnson.
but for a warmer
Yeah.
climate. Whereas the California guys are just like, hey man, what's up?
This Sollozzo's aggression will not stand. So these two were dressed a little more informally. There was a touch of Hollywood in their style. Yeah.
Why didn't they go to him for Jack Waltz? I wonder. Why they didn't?
They should have brought Waltz. A touch of Hollywood in their style, and they were a little more friendly than necessary.
Classic Hollywood, man.
Yeah. Frank Falcone controlled the movie unions and the gambling at the studios.
So that seems like he should have had recent dealings with Don.
Well,
Corleone.
I think Don Corleone probably made contact with
Don Hollywood.
with both of the Don Hollywood, because that's how he was going to be able to exercise the union muscle.
Right. Yeah. So they must have had dealings recently.
Yeah.
Well, relative. I mean, this is not 2 years later or whatever.
Yeah, because that's right. Because Hagen knew. He said one of your leading actors has moved to heroin.
Yeah.
And so I'm guessing Hagen got that information from Don Hollywood's consigliere.
Yeah, the sources.
Like the back channels.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Or they just said, hey, what do you know about this Waltz guy? And they're like, well, one of his actors has gotten from marijuana to heroin. Well, that's good. We'll use that.
Yeah, that's enough. Let's see. Also, and they control the movie union. So this is Falcone. Also control the gambling at the studios. Like that's its own territory.
He's always those guys you see who are shooting crafts in the alleys.
Yeah.
They're like the stage hands are doing that. That's his market.
Well, they're shooting movies. They're shooting dice. Let's see. Plus, they had a complex of pipeline prostitution that supplied girls to the whole houses of the states in the far west.
Nice.
Interesting. It was not in the realm of possibility for any Don to become, quote, showbiz, but Falcone had just a touch. His fellow Dons distrusted him accordingly. Interesting. Now, Molinari controlled the waterfronts of San Francisco and was preeminent in the empire of sports gambling. So we're starting to see a lot of niches within the gambling world.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So this is all before gambling was legalized.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it makes sense that all over the country you'd have all these underground ways for people to gamble.
Sure, yeah.
Molinari came of, this is interesting, he came of Italian fisherman stock and owned the best San Francisco seafood restaurant.
Of course, he's like the Aquaman of, like, all his stuff has to do with boats.
Yeah,
like, he used to be
exactly,
a fisherman.
yeah.
He owns a seafood restaurant in San Francisco. So, like, everyone has their own, like, superpower.
Well, and that's why I brought it up. It makes sense. That is his background in Sicily. So he's kind of an expert in that area. And he probably gravitates toward those areas, right?
Yeah.
He also oversees all the gambling on the boats, or the boat racing. Gambling. This is interesting. So the seafood restaurant that he owned, the best one in San Francisco, he took
finest octopus in the state.
How's the octopus in this place?
It's the seafood restaurant.
He took such pride in that restaurant that the legend had it that he lost money on the enterprise by giving too good value for the prices charged.
Those mafia crime lords, they're their own worst enemy, really.
Yeah. He also had something to do with dope smuggling over the Mexican border and from the ship's ply.
Whoa. He's in charge of the ports.
Yeah, in San Francisco.
But he also is in charge of the Mexican border. That's
a stretch, right?
That seems like it should be more of the Hollywood guys thing.
Yeah.
Because they're much closer to the border, or it should have its own thing.
Yeah, unless it's shipping by the Mexican border. That doesn't I don't know.
This was the kind of a thing where, like, originally the fisherman family controlled the whole state, and then just like the Hollywood one just kind of like grew into its own little thing.
Oh yeah,
and maybe
yeah.
it just controls the whole rest of California.
Well, Hollywood is probably such a big moneymaker and so much to manage.
Yeah,
that Molinari probably said, "Well, I'll take the Mexican border business," because the Hollywood guys don't even probably want to touch it because they've.
Are you kidding me? The Mexican border? That must be like
Think that's a big.
That's like running a casino.
But I don't think at this time it's that. Is it that big? The big dope?
I don't know. Oh, maybe.
It's
I
the
don't even think
40s.
it's
Maybe
more.
it hasn't picked up yet.
We know
dope is
marijuana's
really
popular because the guy's going from marijuana to heroin.
Yeah, in Hollywood. Yeah, you would think the Hollywood guy would want that connection to feed all those actors.
Anyway, maybe it's still in contention. Maybe it's.
Yeah, I could see Waltz saying, "Yeah, give me my bong," like doing bong hits. And just to show you I'm not hot-hearted, here's this great strain of.
I smoked them all over the world.
Thai stick, Malaysia stick, skunk bud.
Skunk bud. And just to show I'm not hard-hearted. It's not all about dollars and cents.
Maybe that's what we can talk about in some bonus content is we with the marijuana industry. Like what would Waltz's
him specifically?
Like what would his strain be? I think his strain would be ALDLSL Kush.
Huh? What does that mean?
That's acting lessons, dancing lessons, singing lessons.
Oh, I like
Kush. They all end with Kush, don't they?
Yeah, or OG.
So Molinari had his hand in the Mexican border and from the ships plying the lanes of the Oriental Oceans.
That sounds more like
Yeah.
So he was pro-drugs, right? Does it say that?
Yeah, it didn't say anything about it. But
I think
I'm guessing so.
On the Wikipedia for Godfather, they said that he was pro-drugs because he knew how much it would mean coming over, importing stuff through the ports, which is his, it was too lucrative for him to pass up.
Yeah, we're going to learn about Stracci in a little bit. And we'll talk about Stracci in a second.
We can also pace it out, for like save some for the next week too. You know what I mean?
You know what? Next week he continues with the meeting itself. Mm-hmm. There's so much more.
Okay, that's fine.
You keep going?
Yeah, let's go.
Just a few more introductions.
Yeah, sure.
The next Don to come out is from the family in Boston. This was the only Don who did not have the respect of his fellows. It surprised me that all those other guys like Tatalia
why is he there?
Why is he? Well, he still plays a role in national crime business. So.
I mean, they didn't invite Chicago.
That's true. Well, Puzo writes a little bit about that. This was the only Don who did not have the respect of his fellows. He was known as a man who did not do right by his people, who cheated them unmercifully. This could be forgiven. Each man measures his own greed. I thought that was interesting. What could not be forgiven was that he could not keep order in his empire. The Boston area had too many murders, too many petty wars for power, a lot of unsupported freelance activities. It flouted the law too brazenly. If the Chicago mafia were savages, then the Boston people were gavones, or uncouth louts, ruffians.
Wow.
So I do think it's interesting that he invited the ruffians, but not the savages. Because remember, Chicago.
Oh, that's right.
Wasn't
Yeah, they were
invited.
that was like a total. Yeah. It sounds like they kind of have a grudging, at least. It's not respect, I guess, because they said they have no respect for them. So that's why I'm surprised they're even there. It seems like even if they were just because of their muscle alone, you'd be like, well, we have to respect that part of them.
No.
So I think this is Mario Puzo, who I assume was from New York. I think this is an anti-Boston bias that New Yorkers have.
Yeah, definitely.
Like if this was written by, if you read one written by Boston guys, they're like, yeah, right, those New Yorkers, they're terrible.
The gavones, ruffians.
They're no better than Chicago.
So this Don's name was Dominic Panza. He was short, squat. As one Don put it, he looked like a thief. Yeah. The next Don...
but do they mean that as an insult? Or do they?
Yeah, they mean it as an
he
insult.
looks like a thief.
Yeah, that's true. This guy, he looks like a degenerate gambler. He's perfect.
He walks around wearing like a black mask and a striped shirt, some black and white striped shirt.
That's great. The Cleveland Syndicate, perhaps the most powerful of the strictly gambling operations in the U.S., was represented by a sensitive-looking elderly man with gaunt features, blah, blah, blah. He was known, of course, not to his face as the Jew, because he had surrounded himself with Jewish assistants rather than Sicilians. It was even rumored that he would have named a Jew as his consigliere if he had dared.
Whoa.
Isn't that interesting? He couldn't do that, but yet Don Corleone could have Hagen as his consigliere.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But there's also a history of the Jewish mafia and the Italian mafia working together. And so I'm surprised there's that prejudice. Maybe
Is there that much bias?
Maybe like they can tolerate some of it, but having a lot of Jews and then your consigliere Jewish, like at least with the Don, it's only one guy. It's embarrassing that he has one, but
there's a tipping point.
Yeah.
Where like at what point does your crime family go from a Sicilian mob to a Jewish mob?
There you go.
Well, I wonder too, because the Jewish mob was strong. It was okay to have a German-Irish. It was somewhat okay to have a German-Irish.
Because there was no German-Irish.
Yeah, it's not like
mafia.
they were competing. You could always maybe worry that a Jewish consigliere was really a spy.
Right,
and working for the other team.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And of course, Don Corleone is the most powerful of the Dons, so he had some flexibility in choosing who he wanted to.
Yeah.
Although they did see Hagen as a freak, remember?
That's right.
In any case, as Don Corleone's family was known as the Irish Gang because of Hagen's membership, so Don Vincent Forlenza's family was known as the Jewish family with somewhat more accuracy. And he was not known ever to have fainted at the sight of blood, despite his sensitive features. That's great. And that's all Puzo has for the out-of-towners. In the next minute, we'll definitely talk more about the heads of the 5 New York families.
It's appropriate that they should have their own special episode as opposed to being lumped in with all these out of town boys.
Yeah. So interesting cast of characters, right?
Yeah.
I guess if you had to pick who of those out of towners seems to have the best situation, who would you want to be?
I feel like if indeed, I would say Molinari seems like
the Mexican border, the shipping
guy. Well, because California, at least as of this date, is the 5th biggest economy in the world.
Oh, wow.
So I have to assume that they also have a similar crime thing. And also like the fact that he's apparently just him and Falcone are the only 2 guys out there. Like you're in New York, you got 4 other families to compete with just in New York City.
Yeah.
Like go out west, young man, where there's room to spread.
Yeah, or you can do your own thing.
Yeah.
You can set up your own people. And you're not competing with everyone else.
The West is where the future is, my friend.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that would be my advice. I would say Molinari.
Yeah.
Or the Falcone guy. I'd have to look into more of the specifics of their operations to decide.
Not Boston?
No, those guys are ruffians. You kidding me?
Gabonese.
I couldn't eat all that cheesesteak either. So let's rate it. I'm ready. Ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. Awesome. I stopped at 4, but I totally understand. I get it.
These minutes are like the there's that minute in Empire Strikes Back where you see all the bounty hunters and like each one that's what this is kind of like. You get to see all the other people who are in these stories, and plus it's basically the only one talking is Brando the whole time, so they're dubbed Brando.
Dubbed Brando. You dock at a point.
Oh, I go up a point.
Yeah.
Any dubbing automatically increases it by 1 point.
Well, we do see Brando because he sits down and at the end of this minute.
Oh yeah, you see him talking because Tom gives him the drink and all that stuff. Like you see him talking a bit. So
we have a good so far.
Yeah, wearing a sharp black suit.
Yeah.
So we have our bonus content we still have to record. What nothing came up organically. What do you think we should talk about?
We'll go back into the archives and pick out something cool.
All right. Yeah.
We can always talk about the Frank Waltz. Is that his name? Frank Waltz? No. Waltz.
Jack
Waltz. We can always tell it's Frank McCluskey.
No, it's Matt McCluskey.
Mark McCluskey. Mark McCluskey. We can always talk about if Waltz.
Frank Salazzo?
No. Frank Salazzo?
Eugene selects us. We'll answer.
How do we do that? Just type in Godfather and then Frank and see what auto populates.
Oh, I thought you were saying what? I thought you wanted to know what.
Whose first name is Frank? That's what I want to know.
Okay, so we'll ask, we'll answer.
Okay.
So yeah, if you want to hear us,
so we can always talk about Waltz's if Waltz were a weed head.
All right. So until next week, there shall be no acts of vengeance.